chaps and chapettes, and welcome to another Board Games Everybody Should... ... When you were a child growing up, did playing games inspire you? So like when you were playing a game, did it make you want to be a doctor? Or did a game make you want to be a game designer? Well, in this video I'm going to take a look at a game where players play doctors, scientists, researchers, all trying to help each other to cure the many viruses which are trying to decimate the population of the world. Yes, it's pandemic. Yes, the right way up as well. And before you say, no, Barry, stop, Barry. We do not need another pandemic review. Well, I beg to disagree. We need as many reviews of Pandemic and any other game as we can possibly get. The same as we need as many good doctors on this earth as we can get. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you roughly how to set up, roughly how to play, and then I'm going to give you my impressions, and also I'll show you something which you've never seen in a Pandemic review before. Pandemic is a game for 2 to 4 players, but it can be played solo because it's a cooperative game, which means that all the players are playing against the board. At the beginning of the game, each player will choose a role secretively. So like I've chosen the researcher. So then I take the card and the playing piece of my colour, and each of the other players will do the same. One of the decks of cards which comes in the game is the infection deck, and this is basically one card for every city on the board. These get mixed up, shuffled, placed there, and this speed token is placed here, which designates how many cards you draw from it when it comes to the infection phase. Another little token will go on here, which is the outbreaks. Every time there's an outbreak, this goes up 1, and this designates the end of game. States the end of game. Is the end of game. This is a little research center which starts at Atlanta. And all players will start in Atlanta at this research center. This deck of cards is the player's deck of cards. In it, you will find one card for each city on the map. There is also some cards which give you a unique turn, so to speak. You can use it to add an extra research center or move someone around the board. Also, there are these epidemic cards. There are 6 in total, but you can add as many as you want to make the game as easy and hard, and these get distributed into the deck and then placed. Then the last thing you do before you start playing is you infect the world. What you do is you take the top 3 cards of the infection deck, and each of these will get 3 of their colour cubes. So Turen's black, so that will get 3. I'll probably pronounce that incorrectly. Montreal is blue, so that will get blue, and that's in the blue section. Montreal is in Canada, and Milan is blue, and that will get 3 as well. Then what will happen, they go into the diffuse pile. You will take another 3 cards. These are mixed well, aren't they? And these will each get 2 cubes in their city. And then you will take another 3 cards, and they will get 1 in each city. The last thing I forgot to mention is the players will receive a starting hand, depending on how many players are in the game. And then you're ready to play. The game comes with a nice, lovely, handy-dandy, what can you do on your turn? And the board also comes with what the players do on their turn. So the first thing the player does is they have 4 actions. The second thing they do is they will take 2 of the player cards from the player deck. And then the third thing they do is they will infect the world with the infection cards, depending on how many, on the speed of progression of infection there is. Okay, so let's talk about the actions. The actions are very, very blurry. Blurry. On a player's turn, they can move to another adjacent city connected with a line. And that'd be one action each. Another way to get around the board is to fly direct. If you have a card, so for example I have Buenos Aires, I could use that to fly from Atlanta to Buenos Aires. Or I could do a chartered flight. So if I have Atlanta and I'm in Atlanta, I could play that card and move to any city I wanted to move to. Let's say there was a research center in Buenos Aires. You could do a shuttle direct from one research center to another, and each of those costs one action. Now, how do you get a research center? Wow, they're quite simple. If you're in the city, for example, if I was in Buenos Aires and I had the Buenos Aires card, I could play that card to build a research center. If I'm in a city where there is virus cubes, for one action I can remove one cube. So to remove 3 cubes would be 3 actions. If I am in the same city as another player and I have the card of that city, for example Buenos Aires, I can give that card to another player. Now, why would I want to give a card to another player? Well, the last action that you can do is you can discover a remedy. Now, to discover a remedy, you need 5 cards of the same colour. So, for example, I have 5 yellow cards, which means that I can find the remedy and the cure for the yellow virus, which would mean that the yellow virus would be easy to cure later in the game. So I'd have to be at a research centre, have 5 of the same colour, and then I'd have a cure, he said. So after the players have done their 4 actions, they take 2 player cards to add to their hand. The maximum limit is 7, so if you have more than 7 you have to discard. These special event cards can be played at any time. And then the third phase is the propagation phase, which means that you take 2 propagation cards from the top of the deck and you add 1 cube to each of those cities. Let's say, for example, a player takes a card and it's an epidemic card. What happens then is the speed of the infection rate goes up by 1. And then there's an instant infection, which means that you take the bottom card of the deck and then that city gets instantly 3 cubes. So Peking, blah 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 blah. Oh, it begins with a P. There it is. Gets 3 cubes, and then that goes into the discard pile. And then the discard pile gets picked up, shuffled, and then added back on top of the deck. And that's the infestation. Because obviously after the pick 2 cards action, you've got the virus and it spreads. Which means that you take that number of cards and then you add 1 cube to each of those cities. Now as you can see, Milan has just come up. And we've got 3 cubes in Milan already. So what would happen is that would be an outbreak. When you have more than 3 cubes in a city, each city next to it gets 1 cube of that same colour virus. And obviously the infection rate will go up by 1. And 1 for each outbreak. So you can have a big chain of outbreaks throughout the game, which can be devastating. The game will end when the players discover all 4 remedies for the viruses. Ignore this one's from an expansion. When the outbreak rate reaches here, it is game over and the players have lost. If you take an infection card on the infection phase and it tells you to put that colour cube somewhere, but there are none because they're all on the board, you've lost. And when it's time for you to take 2 cards from the player deck and there are none, you've lost. Summing up for Pandemic, because that's what I do. Pandemic is a board game that everybody should examine under a microscope before purchasing. How can you say that? Okay, let's go through this bit by bit. The rulebook, crystal clear. The rules are set in stone, simple to follow, easy to play. It's a kind of a easy to medium kind of game. The components of this version, because this is like a revised version, are very, very nice. A lot better than the first version, if you ask me. The crystal clear cubes, perfect for a virus. There is some of the player colours which are a bit hard to distinguish, and sometimes when we've played games we've moved the wrong piece, so maybe, you know, that could be worked on, a bit more distinguishation between the colours of the characters. The artwork is nice, it's a nice style, it's different, it stands out. The gameplay is solid. There's nothing wrong with the game at all. It works really well. The fact that it's cooperative and players are communicating with each other and donning ideas is brilliant. Playing in a group, you may think that I am the alpha gamer. I'm not the alpha gamer. Okay, I can be, but I choose not to be. I am the kind of person that will suggest things, because in this game there is lots of different avenues that you can go to. You've got 8 different actions that you can do, but on your turn you can only do 4. And most of those will be moving and clearing up viruses. But there are so many things that you can do. Which city should I go to? Should I fly there because I've got this card which lets me fly there? Or actually they need that red card because they've got 3 cards, that would make 4, and if I meet them there, there's all these choices. It's great. There's never a dull moment. There are so many options, you will never be stuck. The game does feel like this though. It feels like, turn that one, yeah, okay, that's a good idea. But I want to get this yellow one here. Yeah, I'll turn that there. Okay, your turn. That's what it feels like. It feels like that. It's a puzzle. The game is a puzzle. And for some people, they love that. I like puzzles. I played this game solitaire. Even though the game doesn't actually say it's solitaire, but I've played it solitaire and I enjoy it quite a bit, solitaire. Now, let's get to the thing that I don't like about the game. What I don't like about the game is the ending. Whether I've won or lost, there's no excitement. There's nothing there. There have been times, practically the first time I played with my wife, and we won, and we didn't feel like we'd won because the board was covered in cubes. Yeah, we've got the 4 remedies, but there's all these cubes everywhere, and we, you know, didn't feel like we'd cleaned up, if you know what I mean. The other rule I don't like at the end of the game is the end game conditions. Okay, you've got one where if there are 8 outbreaks during the course of the game, you lose. That makes sense, because the virus is spread. If there's no more colour cubes for you to put onto the board, that makes sense. The virus is grown too immense and you can't contain it. When you run out of player cards to pick up, doesn't work for me. When there's no more cards left to draw, it's the end of the game. You've lost. It's null. It's nil. It's 0. It's zilch. It's nothing. If you could eliminate that rule, brilliant. Don't get me wrong. I like cooperative games. I've played Arkham Horror. I've played Legend of Andor. And when you win or lose, you've got a great emotion boiling up inside you. You're high-fiving if you win in Arkham Horror. You're high-tenning if you're playing Legend of Andor and you win. When you win in Pandemic, it's like, we've won. Oh, okay, okay. My wife carries on playing after we've won because she wants to clean up. She wants to eradicate all of the viruses. She loves the game. Lots of people love the game. But, you know, it's like you order your meal at a restaurant. You have a nice starter. You have a gorgeous meal. And then your coffee and dessert stink. You go away from that restaurant with a sour taste in your mouth. Literally. And that's how this game makes me feel. Get to the end, and it's like, yeah, we've won, or yeah, we've lost. And it does come down to maths. You know, I've had people count how many cards are left that we can draw, and they're working out in their head and, yep, we're not going to win. But let's carry on playing anyway. It's not possible for us to get, by the time it gets to your turn, there's no cards left, and if I give you that 5th card, you're not going to make it to the research centre in time, and that's it, game over, we've lost. It's horrible feeling. I want to love this game. It's nice. It's a great theme. It's great mechanics, but the end game conditions just really don't work for me. Do you feel the same? Do you feel the same? Please post a comment underneath and say that you feel the same about this game. I'd like to recommend it, but unfortunately... The last thing, I wanted to show you something different which no one's ever seen in a pandemic review. That's the back of the box. There you go. Oh! Ah!